that Singapore convenes seeks to contribute thinking and exchange valuable lessons. I thank the Vatican for participating regularly and actively in the conference. The Catholic Church has also been a strong voice for the cause of environmental sustainability. Your Holiness's support for the 2015 Paris Agreement and your call to action for an agreement on climate action, your call for agreement on climate action at COP28 have inspired many. In your Holiness's encyclical, Laudato Si, you articulated a vision which recognizes the interconnectedness of all life and the need to care for our common home. You have also urged people everywhere to recognize that we are caretakers and stewards of our shared home. This message is all the more relevant as the world struggles to meet growing energy demand while achieving a transition to clean energies, and a world that must feed a rapidly growing population while avoiding further environmental degradation. Singapore has made sustainability a national priority since our independence 59 years ago. As a small city-state, we have sought to balance development with environmental responsibility. This applies to the greening of our city, all the way from Mr. Lee Kuan Yew's Garden City vision in 1967 to our current City in Nature. It also applies to water and what we have done to encourage its conservation and ensure sustainable supply, not only through reservoirs, but the recycling of used water and desalination. The Singapore Green Plan 2030 serves as a guide in our concerted efforts to counter climate change. It includes quadrupling solar energy deployment and reducing the waste sent to landfills by 30%. Singapore has also implemented carbon taxes with graduated increases to support our transition to a low-carbon economy. Our approach to sustainability and climate adaptation is underpinned by climate science and R&D. It informs the education of our young at all levels, community initiatives, our long-term investments, and our climate policies for the future. I would like to thank the Catholic Church for the direct and concrete contributions it has made to Singapore over the decades. I'm referring to Catholic institutions dealing with education, healthcare, and social welfare. Indeed, our oldest Catholic schools, St. Joseph's Institution and Convent of the Holy Infant Jesus, have a history going back over 170 years. Many Singaporeans from all races and creeds have benefited from their years in the schools, being imbued with both knowledge and a spirit of compassion and service. And indeed, many of the orphans that the Convent of Holy Infant Jesus took in through its gates and brought up became sterling members of the community. In your message for the World Day of Peace last year, Your Holiness said that the pandemic left in its wake, I quote, the realization that we all need one another, unquote. I share this view, and I'm glad that Singapore and the Holy See are committed to fostering cohesive societies, peace, and an understanding of our common humanity. As we continue this journey of seeking solutions to common challenges, I'm confident that the ties between Singapore and the Holy See, as friends and partners, will continue to deepen in the years ahead.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, His Holiness Pope Francis.
We just heard from President Shanmugaratnam, and we will now hear from Pope Francis, who is addressing authorities, civil society and members of the diplomatic corps at Singapore's National University.
Signor Presidente,
Mr. President,
distinte autorità,
distinguished authorities,
illustri rappresentanti della società
esteemed
civile,
representatives of civil society,
membri del corpo diplomatico.
members of the diplomatic
Ringrazio
corps,
il Signor Presidente per le
I
cortesi
thank
parole di benvenuto
the President for his
che
kind
mi ha
words of welcome,
gentilmente rivolto e che rinnovano in me la
and I
riconoscenza
renew my
per la sua
appreciation
recente visita
for his
al
recent
Vaticano.
visit to the Vatican.
A tutte le autorità sono grato per la cordiale
To all the
accoglienza
authorities,
in questa
I am
nostra
grateful
città
for the
stabile,
cordial welcome to this city-state, a commercial crossroads of primary importance and a place where different peoples meet, of different places. Those arriving here for the first time cannot fail to be impressed by the mass of ultra-modern skyscrapers that seem to rise from the sea. They are a clear testimony to human ingenuity, the dynamism of Singaporean society, and the acumen of the entrepreneurial spirit, which have found fertile ground here for their expression.
Quella di Singapore è una storia di crescita e resilienza. Da umili origini, questa nazione ha
Singapore's story is one of growth and resilience. From humble beginnings, this nation has reached an advanced level of development, which can only stem from rational decisions and not by chance. Indeed, it is a result of an unwavering commitment to carry out projects and initiatives that are well thought out and in tune with the specific characteristics of the place. In these days, you are celebrating the 101st anniversary of the birth of Lee Kuan Yew, the first Prime Minister of the Republic of Singapore, who held this office from 1959 to 1990, giving a striven to build a society in which social justice and the common good are held in high regard. I think in particular of your commitment to improving the quality of life of citizens through public housing policies, high quality education, and an efficient healthcare system. I hope that these efforts will continue until all Singaporeans are able to benefit from them fully. In this regard, I would like to highlight the risk entailed in focusing solely on pragmatism or placing merit above all things, namely the unintended consequence of justifying the exclusion of those and initiatives put in place to support the most vulnerable. And I hope that special attention will be paid to the poor and the elderly, whose labours have laid the foundations for the Singapore we see today, as well as to protecting the dignity of migrant workers. These workers contribute a great deal to society and should be guaranteed a fair wage. The sophisticated technologies of the digital age and rapid developments in the use of artificial intelligence must not lead us to forget about the essential need to cultivate real and concrete human relationships. These technologies should be used to bring us closer together by promoting understanding and solidarity, and never to isolate ourselves in a dangerously false and intangible reality. Singapore is a mosaic of ethnicities, a mosaic of ethnicities, a mosaic of cultures and religions living together in harmony. This word is very important, harmony. The achievement and preservation of this positive inclusiveness is facilitated by the impartiality of public authorities who engage in constructive dialogue with all, thus making it possible for everyone to make their own unique contribution to the common good and preventing extremism and intolerance from gaining strength and endangering social harmony. Mutual respect, cooperation, dialogue, and the freedom to exercise one's beliefs within the confines of the law are the conditions that allow for Singapore's success and stability. They are necessary for avoiding conflict and chaos, not conflictual and chaotic, but instead a balanced and sustainable development. From the very beginning of its presence in Singapore, the Catholic Church has made its own distinctive contribution to the progress of the nation, especially in the areas of education and healthcare. This was possible thanks to the spirit of sacrifice and dedication of missionaries and the Catholic faithful. Always animated by the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Catholic community is also at the forefront of works of charity, contributing significantly to humanitarian efforts and managing several healthcare institutions and many humanitarian organizations, including Caritas. According to the teaching of the Second Vatican Council's Declaration on Relations with Non-Christian Religions, Nostra Aetate, the Church has also constantly promoted interreligious dialogue and cooperation between different faith communities in a spirit of openness and mutual respect, which are fundamental for building a just and peaceful society. My presence here as successor of the Apostle Peter comes 43 years after diplomatic relations were established between the Holy See and Singapore. The purpose of my visit is to confirm Catholics in their faith and thus help them offer a clear witness to their faith, as well as encouraging them to continue with joy and dedication their cooperation with all men and women of goodwill in building a healthy and cohesive civil society for the sake of the common good. Singapore also has a specific role to play on the international level. Let us never forget this. This international level, which is threatened today by conflict and wars that have spilled much blood. And I welcome your noteworthy promotion of multilateralism and a rules-based order shared by all.
Vi incoraggio a continuare a lavorare
I encourage you to continue to work in favor of the unity and fraternity of humanity and the common good of all peoples and all nations in a way that does not exclude others or is restricted to your national interests.
Mi sia consentito ricordare
Allow me
anche il ruolo della famiglia,
to recall also the role of the family,
un luogo in cui ognuno impara
which is where we learn to be
a relazionarsi con gli altri, a essere amato e amato.
loved and to love, the first place where everyone learns to relate to others. But we see that the foundations on which families are built are being challenged by current social conditions and run the risk of being weakened. Families must be allowed to transmit the values that give meaning and shape to life, and to teach young people how to form solid and healthy relationships. Efforts to promote, protect, and support family unity through the work of various institutions are therefore to be commended. We cannot hide that today we live in an era of environmental crisis, and we should not underestimate the impact that a small nation like Singapore can have in this regard. Your unique location gives you access to capital, technology, and talent, resources that can drive innovation in order to take better care of our common home. Your commitment to sustainable development and the preservation of creation is an example to follow, and your search for innovative solutions to address environmental challenges can encourage other countries to do the same. Singapore is a shining example of what humanity can achieve by working together in harmony, with a sense of responsibility and a spirit of inclusiveness and fraternity. This is like a little summary of your approach, working together in harmony with a sense of responsibility and with a spirit of fraternity and inclusiveness. I encourage you to continue on this path, trusting in God's promise and in His fatherly love for all. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, may God help you to respond to the needs and expectations of your people, and to understand that God can accomplish great things for the good of all through those who remain humble and grateful. God bless Singapore.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the State Address. The President and His Holiness Pope Francis will now take their leave. Please remain seated while the Holy See delegation members take their leave.
And we just heard Pope Francis's address to authorities, civil society, and members of the diplomatic corps in the National University of Singapore, where, of course, he is visiting as the final leg of his 45th apostolic journey. And so, with that brings us to the end of this live broadcast of the Pope's meeting. Perfectly timed with a round of applause as Pope Francis exits the stage. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday, the 12th of September. To all of you, whether you're joining us via our Vatican News YouTube channel, EWTN Television, Catholic Faith Network in America, Shalom Television India, and Sunday Shalom, Shalom World Television, Catholic Television, Luminous Radio India, and Radio Maria Papua New Guinea, or via any local or diocesan radio station around the world. This event is available on our Vatican News YouTube channel and on our Vatican News website, where you can also find summaries of the Holy Father's discourses and homilies and reports on everything that he has been doing. And until next time, Laudetur Jesus Christus, praised be Jesus Christ.